You know, when you think about a soldier, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Discipline, right? Obedience. It's the bedrock of the entire military. But what if the most courageous act of duty wasn't to follow an order, but to actually refuse it? We're about to dig into this fascinating and kind of counterintuitive idea that for a US soldier, sometimes the greatest duty is to just say no. Before we jump into all the laws and the history, let's just start with a really direct question. Put yourself in their boots for a second. You've been trained your whole career to obey. Everything is on the line. Your job, maybe even your life, and the lives of your team. So what do you do when an order crosses a line that you know is wrong? And this isn't just some thought experiment. It's a very real dilemma service members can face. And this really gets to the heart of the problem. On one side, you have the duty to obey. It's the glue that holds the entire military structure together. Without it, you've just got chaos. But on the other side, there's this higher duty, right? It's the oath every single service member takes to support and defend the Constitution and the laws of the land. So when those two duties smash into each other, the soldier is caught right in the middle. Now, you might think this is just some big moral debate, a philosophical question, but it's not. The answer is actually written down, codified into law. There is a clear legal foundation that doesn't just allow a soldier to refuse certain orders, it actually requires them to. It's like this legal shield, and it's built from a bunch of different layers. It all starts with that oath to the Constitution. Then it gets spelled out in the military's own rulebook, the UCMJ. And it's backed up by huge international standards, like the Geneva Conventions and the principles that came out of the Nuremberg trials after World War II. And right here, this is the key, the linchpin of the whole thing. It's that one little word, lawful. The Uniform Code of Military Justice, the UCMJ, doesn't demand blind obedience to any and all orders. It demands obedience to lawful orders. That single word changes absolutely everything. It means that saying no to an illegal order isn't a crime. It's your duty. And look, this isn't just an American thing. After World War II, the world had to grapple with this on a massive scale. The Nuremberg trial set a global standard. The excuse, "I was just following orders," was thrown out. The court made it crystal clear. You are responsible for your actions. That principle puts the heavy weight of choice, both moral and legal, right on the individual's shoulders, no matter who gave the command. Okay, so that's the theory, right? Sounds clear enough on paper. But the real world, especially a battlefield, that's a whole different story. History is just filled with these gut-wrenching moments where these laws were put to the ultimate test. Let's talk about the My Lai massacre. It's a really dark moment in U.S. military history, but man, is it a powerful lesson in moral courage. U.S. troops were ordered to kill hundreds of unarmed civilians, women, children, old men. And tragically, most of them obeyed. But Warrant Officer Hugh Thompson, flying overhead in his helicopter, saw what was happening and did the unthinkable. He landed his chopper right in the line of fire, between his fellow Americans and the villagers. And then he gave his gunner an unbelievable order. Train your machine gun on the American troops, and if they keep killing, you open fire. He chose the law over the order, and eventually, he was recognized as a hero for it. And what's crazy is that this isn't a new problem. Check this out. Back in 1864, Captain Silas Sewell refused a direct order to fire on a peaceful Native American camp. He later testified against his commander. The very next year, you have Captain Henry Wirz, who ran the horrific Andersonville prison camp. His defense? "I was just following orders." He was executed. Then flash forward to Korea. Lieutenant David Tyke disobeys an order to retreat, goes back, saves his men, and is hailed as a hero. It's the same act, disobedience, but the context, the order, and the outcome, they're worlds apart. So that's what brings us to the really tough part, the huge personal risk a soldier takes. It's one thing for us to sit here and judge these situations decades later, but in that moment, making that call is a massive, massive gamble. Just take a second and think about what this quote means. Hugh Thomas was seconds away from starting a firefight with his own countrymen. He had to be so absolutely certain that the order to kill those civilians was illegal that he was willing to bet his life, his crew's lives, and his entire career on being right. I mean, that is an incredible amount of moral clarity under the most intense pressure imaginable. But here's the thing. It doesn't always end with a medal. Take the case of Captain Lawrence Rockwood in Haiti in the 90s. He saw human rights abuses happening in Haitian prisons that he believed were illegal for the U.S. to just ignore. So he did the right thing, right? He reported it up his chain of command. But they told him to stand down. He felt he had a higher duty, so he disobeyed a direct order and went to inspect a prison himself. And what happened? He was court-martialed. He gambled on doing the right thing, and the system nearly crushed him for it. And that right there, that's the gamble. That's the subjective risk. A soldier has to make a split-second life-or-death decision in the mud and the chaos, but the actual legality of that decision might be debated by lawyers in a quiet courtroom years later. When you refuse an order, you are betting everything that a judge someday in the future will see things the same way you did. And if you're wrong, the consequences can be devastating. Okay, this all sounds, well, terrifying, right? It's an impossible position to be in. So what kind of support is there for a soldier who's caught in this situation today? And when it all comes down to it, who is truly responsible? So let's get practical. If you're a soldier and you get an order that just feels fundamentally wrong, what do you actually do? It's not just about having the guts to say no, it's about knowing what steps to take next. And luckily, today's military has put formal systems in place to help people navigate these murky waters. Well, they're not totally alone. They can go talk to a JAG officer, that's a military lawyer, for confidential legal advice. They can go to the Inspector General, the IG, which is a way to report problems outside of your direct chain of command. For the moral or ethical side of things, they can speak confidentially with a chaplain. And this is a big one. The Military Whistleblower Protection Act exists to offer some legal protection from retaliation. Now, these things don't make the risk disappear, but they do offer a path forward. But at the end of the day, after all the advice, all the legal counsel, it all boils down to this one simple, heavy truth. The system, the law, and decades of international precedent, they all agree on one thing. The final choice, the ultimate burden of responsibility for an action, rests with the individual. Not the person who gave the order, but the person who decided whether or not to follow it. Which leaves us with one last question to chew on, and it applies to way more than just the military. In any situation, in any chain of command, where does that responsibility truly stop? The law has an answer for sure, but it's something we're thinking about long after you're done watching this.